Sorry to burst your bubble, but Ashes of Creation is a PvP game. Someone can make this game a PvP game for you at any point. They can just walk right up to you and kill you. There are no PvE servers. That's it. Hope you enjoyed the video. No, I'm just kidding. The primary difference between Ashes of Creation and other MMOs is that Ashes of Creation has a lot of player agency, whereas many other MMOs, the content is very much on rails, which is cool because you can deliver like a story and cinematics and a very polished experience where, you know, everybody's having at least a decent time. Whereas with Ashes of Creation, anything can happen. The players have a lot of agency. And when the players have a lot of agency, that means that people aren't necessarily going to do the things you like. Now, that can be something as aggressive as them just killing you, or it could be something as benign as, oh man, they really built that in the settlement instead of this other thing I would have much preferred, or somebody building Metropolis over here instead of over here, and there can only be a certain amount of those. There's going to be a lot of situations in Ashes of Creation that are these annoyances where you're either going to have to deal with it or escalate it to violence, which is the ultimate thing in Ashes of Creation. How everything gets solved appears to be PvP. That seems to be the primary engine of the game, at least long term, but I don't think it's the entire game, which we'll get into in a second. So with Ashes of Creation, they have intentionally been designing the game with player friction in mind, meaning that you will be bumping into other players and having to interact with other players, even just at a very simple level, with the game being pretty difficult. Based off of the live streams we've been watching, this is not a game where you're going to want to level solo. Maybe you'll be able to do it, but there appears to be a lot of content in the game that you're going to want to group up with people. And when you're grouping up with people, you're having friction with them. Now, it could be positive friction or negative friction, but you're just having to interact with other players in the world. The crafting, it seems to be that they're going a very interdependent route where you need this, this, and this, and a whole bunch of people have to interact. You're not going to really be able to solo craft, at least from what I can gather based off their attitude surrounding crafting. And again, it's a game with player agency, and people are just not going to be always doing the thing you like. Whether that be in a major way or in a minor way. Somebody can build a house where you wanted to build a house. That's PvP. A player did a thing you didn't like, and you know you're competing against him for that thing you want. Yeah, it's not exactly hot versus hotkey PvP that you'd see in a montage, but it's PvP, at least in my opinion. Then you have things like mayoral voting, where you just are literally running an election campaign against another player. That's PvP, in my opinion. Yeah, it's not traditional PvP, but it's definitely PvP. Steven has two particular quotes that I think really sum up how player conflict driven this game is going to be. The first one is, Ashes of Creation is primarily a game about risk versus reward. Now, let's be honest. Is that risk really coming from AI monsters that everyone is eventually going to figure out? No, not really. Not long term. Maybe in the short term, people will have to figure out the raid boss mechanics, but these are open world dungeons. They're likely going to be cheesable to a degree. The real risk versus reward is going to involve the players. What all can you get away with? Who all can, you know, how much can you push the envelope before you piss too many people off and they fight back? That is where the risk versus reward is going to come from, is from the player conflict, at least in my opinion. The next quote is, not everyone's going to get a trophy. Realistically, who's going to stop you from getting the trophies? Is it going to be the AI monsters? Or is it going to be other players in your way getting the thing you want, stopping you from getting the trophy? It's going to be the other groups killing the raid bosses, the other groups, making the settlement where you wanted it to be, the other groups taking the castle when you wanted to take the castle, or just that guy killing you. Something as benign as that. Somebody, sinking your ship. Yeah. That's not everyone's going to get a trophy in that regard. So again, is that really going to come from the AI monsters long term? I don't think so. In conclusion, I do believe Ashes is going to be a largely player conflict driven game, but I don't think that the game is going to be just a constant mind melting PvP experience where you just have to be on guard 24/7. Unless you're maybe a streamer, that's the only situation where I think that people would willingly forgo the insane corruption penalties for just ganking you outright for the hell of it. Ashes of Creation seems to be going in a direction where if you see a guy out in the world that you just want to murder, like, it better be worth it. Like, you're gonna be mad when you kill somebody and it turns out they didn't really have anything. That's the vibe I'm getting with the way the corruption penalties are. They seem to be very steep, and they also seem to be annoying. And the penalties are done in such a way to where that even if you are a good PvPer, you're still not thrilled about it. Yes, you can, lose gear when you die. That's not something that I think long term the good players will care about, but the stat nerfing and the not being able to go to towns and all the other penalties associated with it that you still get even if you are successful, I think is going to lead to a situation where murdering somebody outright is going to have to be like something you really like think about. And I think that largely players are only going to engage in this sort of thing when it comes to caravans. But I don't know. It's seeming like corruption, based off what we've seen so far, it's going to be kind of annoying. So it's going to be a little bit of a struggle to be a bandit, just an outlaw. But that might be interesting. We'll see how players mitigate that and exploit the system. I'm sure that will happen. I'm sure there will be all sorts of crazy exploits and, hey bro, come kill me and wipe my corruption. I'm sure that shit's going to happen all the time. Ideally, Ashes of Creation is going to have a lot of different types of PvP beyond just normal hotkey versus hotkey, me firing spells at you firing them back. I think that's going to probably be the most interesting PvP, the econ stuff, the political navigating, and that kind of thing is going to be far more interesting, at least at the server-wide scale, than just Johnny killing Billy in the woods. I think there's going to be plenty of that. I think there's going to be plenty of just 8v8s out in some sort of PvP-oriented zone, battleground, however they decide to do that. I'm sure that will happen a ton. Pirates, the sea, I'm sure all of that will happen, but I think you're going to see a lot of like covert PvP happening as well, and that should be super interesting to see who the tycoons of the economy are going to be, and all the mayoral politicking, and it's going to be super interesting to see how that plays out, and I'm sure it's going to make for some great stories. So pretty excited for the game. Hopefully they can strike the balance of having it be a player conflict driven game without it just being a complete gank box. It seems like the way they have this corruption system based off the penalties I'm seeing, they aren't so steep that no one would ever go for it, but it does seem like they're trying to have an environment where just ganking somebody outright, it's gonna be worth it, or you're gonna be mad. Like, you're gonna be upset if you kill somebody and you're like, oh, that wasn't even worth it. So let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. Hope you enjoyed the video. Use my Ashes of Creation referral code. I get free Ashes of Creation dollars. Hope you enjoyed the video, and I will see you next time. Have a good one.